Hey guys, Wyatt Claypool here. It has been genuinely kind of surprising how easily Prime Minister Mark Carney is pushed off the ball. Like, I'm all here for the Liberals losing. I hope that they implement none of their agenda because it's terrible. But at the same time, if I was a Liberal advisor and I was trying to get the Prime Minister to be, popular, to be able to get things done, get reelected, I would tell him to at least try and walk away from some of his commitments quietly. Mark Carney just yesterday said that he is going to put a pause on his EV mandate, which is basically saying it's going to go away. Yeah, in a year's time or a couple of years' time, they may continue with the EV mandate, but this is kind of like the soft way of getting rid of it because he's waving the white flag to Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre, who has decisively won on this issue. Other than people who wanted to scream about the environment and that if you don't support the EV mandate, you must hate the environment, there wasn't anyone who actually thought that this was a particularly good idea. But before I get into it, guys, I just want to remind you, if you like the channel, make sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you are not yet a subscriber, and leave a comment on what you think on the topic. But here is Mark Carney at a press event where he mentioned that he is going to be rolling back the EV mandate.
And it's not all about money. Some of it is about regulation. So to add flexibility to the automotive sector, we will remove the 2026 electric vehicle availability standard, which specifies the share of new vehicle sales that must be electric next year. This will provide immediate financial relief to.
I just gotta say before I keep letting him go, he just looks miserable. And again, it's because he's weak. He legitimately doesn't have the ability to stand up for what he believes in. He shouldn't stand up for it because it's stupid. But as somebody who's the prime minister, you'd assume that he'd have a little bit more staying power when it comes to like pushing a policy and at least pretending like he still believes in it even when the polls change on it, and then finding at least a better way of getting rid of it. Like, just delete the mandate from the website in a month's time and don't actually say you've gotten rid of it, and then have a press release come out and like on Christmas Day so that nobody knows it happened. But my goodness, he does not look happy about the position he's put himself in.
Get financial relief to automakers at a time of increased pressure on their competitiveness. And the government will begin immediately a 60-day review of the EV standard to identify future flexibilities and ways to reduce costs. And we'll advance new options to bring more and more affordable electric vehicles to Canadians.
This is not just also Pierre Poilievre pushing him off this issue by marketing against it quite well. It's also Donald Trump eating Mark Carney's lunch. The American economy, even with the tariffs, which is hurting it, is doing far better than Canada. The American market likes gas-powered cars. And so a lot of our gas-powered car manufacturers were probably going to just leave to go to the United States. Does he think they were all going to change into like electric vehicle manufacturers, or do you think they would just head over the border into Michigan to build cars instead? It was so naive, and so that's really a major reason also why Mark Carney is doing this, which is hilarious because again we are supposed to be in elbows up mode telling the Americans what's for, but after Trump also caused the net zero banking alliance that Mark Carney started years ago to fail. Maybe Mark Carney is learning a lesson that all of his green kind of dreams are not going to come true, and he might as well just back off of them now. But this isn't just the only bad news for the Liberals. They've also been having really bad, like, just job numbers. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed, but we've lost, as Mark Nixon points out here in this post, we have lost 107 jobs in 2 months. And he was responding to this person who's a liberal shill online, Gator Gum, who says somehow Carney has managed to axe the tax and remove the EV mandate, stealing Poilievre's platform and yet simultaneously being worse than Trudeau. What an absolutely wild time to be alive. Now, I love posts like this because it is the most naked form of saying that, okay, well, if we win, but if we lose, we also still win. Nobody actually wanted the EV mandate to stay. No conservative is out there saying, oh my goodness, I can't believe Mark Carney got rid of the EV mandate. Now, how am I supposed to live? No one actually likes the EV mandate. They're criticizing Carney for having ever backed the EV mandate in the first place. That was the problem. But this is also all going into Mark Carney searching for a win before the summer ends because he knows if there are no wins, he's going to get absolutely slaughtered in Parliament. So, at the very least, what he can do is try and walk back some of his particularly bad policies so that at least the Conservatives have less to go after him for during the fall session. Now, I just want to quickly cut over to this CTV News clip where they are talking about the EV mandate and the fact that there was really never much of a market for these electric vehicles in the first place. And this is all stuff that if you said it before Mark Carney got rid of the mandate, you would have been just called an economic flat earther. You don't understand how popular these cars are. This is the way the world's moving, blah, blah, blah.
Brian, I wanted to talk about some of the criticism we're seeing out there. I mean, some of it notably coming from environmental groups like Greenpeace, saying that instead we should be, quote, doubling down on renewable energy and EVs rather than bowing before Trump's attack on people and the planet. How do you respond to environmentalists who may feel like this is a walk back and this is not where the industry should be going?
Well, I just think they're missing the plot here. The issue is not about whether or not we have enough EVs in the market, if we have a supply of EVs. What we're missing is the consumer demand. And I'd like to see these environmental groups and these EV enthusiasts that Flavio mentioned focus on the barriers to adoption. We know what they are. We need more charging infrastructure. Right now, we should have 100,000 public chargers in Canada. This is according to the federal government. There's 36,000. That is a massive gap. So we have to help Canadians make the transition, and you will see more people switching. The supply is here. The inventory is here. You're seeing new models introduced every single month. Let's get at those barriers and you will see higher adoption rates. I think the idea that you somehow need to mandate it, in fact, will actually have the opposite effect. If there's one thing we know is that people don't like to be told by government what to do or what to drive. So let's help them with the transition, not force it.
But like, I disagree with this whole help the transition thing, but I think that's more so just PR nonsense. But again, these people would not be saying this pre the mandate being removed. Only after the mandate is removed has Carney given these organizations the social mandate to say, well, yeah, actually, supply and demand still matters, and people do not demand these vehicles despite the supply being there. Now I just want to move on to what the Liberals have been doing in the media since this has been happening. Because at the same time that Mark Carney was removing the EV mandate, which, let's be clear, that was the real news yesterday. There was nothing else more important than that. What the Liberals were tweeting out about was Mark Carney says Canada's new government will buy Canadian to build Canadian. They really got to stop saying the new government moniker because it's almost just a mockery of the fact that they're like the last guys entirely. And the vast majority of MPs are same. But he's like talking about how they're launching their Buy Canadian push in response to Trump tariffs. Prime Minister seeks to diversify the economy as U.S. measures hit lumber and manufacturing sectors. Again, this has nothing to... The real story yesterday was the EV mandate pause. Because if you're actually trying to fight back against tariffs and you're trying to have our auto industry not sink into the sea, well, then what you want is to get rid of the EV mandate. But we're going to pretend like everything, the only important thing was the Buy Canadian initiative because it sounds nice. Mark Carney here says, Canada's new government is building big things with Canadian materials. We're introducing a Buy Canadian policy. This is no longer only a best effort to support Canadian industry. When it comes to federal contracts, it will be a clear obligation. Okay, so we're going to spend even more Canadian taxpayer dollars at times when we could, in fact, be getting something cheaper overseas. And I don't want to buy stuff from China as a general rule, but like at the time on the economy, when we have a $92 billion deficit, we might want to consider trying to just get whatever's cheaper. Also, how about we just lower taxes? If we actually care about people buying Canadian, how about lower their income taxes as well as corporate taxes. But I guess that would be a difficult thing to do. Oh, oh my goodness. I'm being very facetious there. It'd be very easy to cut taxes. Oh my goodness, but there could be a bigger deficit. Okay, cut bad spending. Easy. Then Mark Carney says, today we've launched a major new initiative for workers and businesses in sectors most impacted by tariffs. As we transform our economy to be more resilient, we're making sure workers and industries have the tools to drive the transformation and thrive in it. Oh my goodness. Well, we're not transforming or innovating towards EVs anymore. Well, again, good thing. But I love that we're still keeping around the same language that the liberals would usually talk about stuff like trying to get people to drive EVs. But now it's talking about like just government subsidies. Like only the Canadian government would try and characterize subsidies as like a dynamic economic policy. Anyways, I again going back to this gator gun person, and when you actually the person can actually get like thousands and thousands of likes on a lot of their posts, but I like accounts like this because it what represents what the street level liberal thinks. I love this post. Breaking. Prime Minister Mark Carney has rolled out a series of measures that he says will transform Canada's economy into a force that can withstand the trade shocks of the Trump administration. CBC reporting. This won't bring the brokenness out at all. And they're like, I guess because it's like, oh, he did something good, but the people who think Canada's broken are going to complain anyways. I highly doubt this person even knows what happened. It's called subsidies, and it's not an economic policy. It is just a band-aid solution to the current state of Canada's economy. Again, we could lower taxes and be out of this, but that would be too difficult. Anyways, but that should be it for this video, guys. I'm actually about to film something about the new Angus Reid poll that's out because, goodness, it is actually kind of shocking just how much Mark Carney is falling into the dumps right now in terms of his personal approval. Is he still above water? Yes. But the fact that he's only 5 months in and he's fighting to stay above, to stay in the positive approval ratings is absolutely ridiculous. You should be having a very easy time staying popular for like a year and a half. But the thing is that he's been fumbling every single ball thrown to him. Every single time he tries to do some new initiative, it blows up in his face immediately. There's just nothing going on. We have a major projects act gets passed. And then all we do within 170 days of him being prime minister is we announce the opening of the Office of Major Projects. We don't even need a major projects office. How about we just rubber stamp a bunch of projects so that if a company wants to take it up, they're already free and clear to have the whole thing fast tracked. But anyways, with that being said, thanks you guys for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. I will see you guys later.